I'm going to do my base, and since I'm doing a summery look, we're going to be using BB cream as our base and a lot of creams. And I know Shape Tape is like my favorite concealer, but it's more of a full coverage concealer. So instead of that, I'm going to be using, still by Tarte, but the Amazonian Clay 12-hour concealer. I'll show you the products I'm going to use to make my base, but I won't show you how I do my base because, let's face it, y'all are here for this. So for my base, I'm going to be using these two BB creams. This is the Physicians Formula Organic BB Cream. I like this one and it smells really good. And then also the e.l.f. BB Cream. They're just two different shades, so I mix them and they turn out to be my shade. Then I use the NYX Wonder Stick for contour. I'm using the Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof 12-hour concealer because we don't need that. It's summertime, so I'm gonna go do my base really quick. So I went ahead and I put on my BB cream and I put on my cream contour. So first I'm going to be taking Dawn, this color, and I'm using Makeup Addiction, the blender brush. Just going to pop this in my crease. So far, when I was watching other people's reviews and such, they were talking about how the palette doesn't really blend well and it's streaky and whatnot. So far, I'm finding these shadows are pretty blendable, and for me at least, they're not very streaky. And I mean, there is some kickback, like I'll show you right now. I don't know if you can tell because it won't really focus with me super zoomed in. There is some kickback, but when I have the kickback, I kind of tap in the kickback so that way I don't have as much, if that makes sense. So even though I have the kickback, I will use that instead of picking up more shadow. I'll just use the shadow that was kicked back at me. So now I'm going to put a little bit in the inner corners and blend it into my outer V, since we're going to be doing halo eye. I don't have the Modern Renaissance, but I have a friend who has the Modern Renaissance, and I used it and it does have a lot more kickback than I've noticed any other palette does, and since this is a sister palette to that, and I've watched reviews on it, I knew that was going to happen. So it's not really a shock to me. Just kind of, work with it. Now I'm going to be using the brush that comes with the palette, and I'm going to be dipping into Roxy, which is the shade here. And with a lot of the reviews I watched, especially this one, I think her name is Ashley or Alicia Ashley, something like that. She posted on Twitter that she hit pan with just swirling her brush in Roxy, which she's one of those people that like digs into the products, and I'm not one of those people, so I know that I won't have that issue. That's just me. So if you're a person that digs into their products, I would recommend with this palette, if you do get it, not to do that, simply because you're going to hit pan and you're going to be pissed off about it. But you don't need to like really press into these eyeshadows because they're very softly pressed and they don't have a lot of that material that really puts the pigments together. So that's why they're so pigmented. And since they're so pigmented, you also don't need a lot of product. So that's just something to keep in mind when you use the palette if you buy it. I also bought this palette with my own money and I accidentally bought two. But, so this video is in no way sponsored, especially because I only have 14 subscribers right now and I only have like 150 followers. on my Instagram page. So yeah. So far, I really do like this brush. It's getting the job done right now, which I really like. So just gonna blend this out with the bigger brush that I used with Dawn, and I'm not putting any more product on here, just using it to blend. Alright, so now I'm going to be going in with the color Fudge, which is this brown shade here. And I'm going to be using my Makeup Addiction, the Crease Blender brush, which is a lot like the brush that comes with the Anastasia palette. However, this one's a little more tapered, so I'll be able to put this color in more precise, which is what I'm looking for. I'm also going to be taking this shade All Star right here, which is like this kind of cranberry mixed with plum color. I'm going to be putting that on top of the fudge. I'm going to I have one of these clean sweep brush pads, and I'm just going to swirl my brush in there just so I can get the product off and I can blend. Now I'm finding myself running into the problem that I saw a lot of people already had issues with. It's with the patchiness. You can see it right there and in here. So I'm going to try using a different brush and seeing if that'll help. Hopefully it will. Because I really liked this look I was going for so far. So let me just grab a different brush. So I'm going to use the Urban Decay Full Spectrum brush and see if that does anything. This brush did help so far, so I don't know if it was just the way I was blending it or the brush didn't really agree with the product. And I'm going to take that Anastasia brush again, not picking up any more product. Just blend the edges in. Also going to take that Full Spectrum brush and just lightly try to put this color in the crease here. I don't want too much in the crease, but definitely do want some. Alright, I'm just going to blend again with this brush that I used with Dawn. So on this side, so far, I'm not seeing the shadows being chalky or anything, but on this eye, I am. But this is also the eye that I always have troubles with anyways, so I'm not really freaking out about it. Alright, so now I'm going to take the Anastasia brush and I'm going to use the more dense side, and I'm going to pick up Adorn, which is this color right here. I'm going to place that in the middle of this. So I've seen a couple reviews on this palette, like I've said. Chris and Leanne wasn't really impressed with this color, and I watched Samantha Revendell a lot too, and I think she didn't like the way that this color picked up on brushes, but she liked the way it picked up with her finger. But I'm finding that this color picks up really well with this brush specifically. And I'm not like picking up the color, I'm just patting it into the brush and then patting it into my eye. And then just rolling my brush in the clean sweep brush pad again. I'm going to take just a tiny bit of electric and put it just on the middle of this. going to take the Urban Decay brush that I got with, the Alice of the Looking Glass palette. And I'm just going to take the Fudge and All-Star colors again and just give this a little more depth. Then I'm going to take this brush that I had the color on for the center of the lid, kind of just continue to pat it. Then I'm going to take the Anastasia brush again, pick up just a tiny bit more of Roxy, and blend. Alright, and then I'm going to take this big Makeup Addiction brush and blend everything out just one last time. And in the inner corner, I'm going to be taking the other side of this Urban Decay brush that I got from the Alice of the Looking Glass palette. First I'm going to take Dawn, and then just a little bit of Cube. Put that in the inner corner. Alright, so I did my concealer, and I did, obviously, Pinky Green now. And I set my face, so now we're going to move on to the under eye. I'm going to take this, the older Anastasia brush that I have, and I'm going to take Dawn first, and put that under my lash line. On the same brush, I'm going to take the shade Roxy, put it in the same spots. I'm going to take the more dense side of this older Anastasia brush, dip into Fudge and All-Star, pat it on the back of my hand a couple times, and put it on the outer and inner part of my lower lash line. When I'm using the shadow, I'm literally tapping in one color and another color just like this. Just tap, tap, then I tap it a couple times on the back of my hand, and then I put it on my eyes. I almost said face. I don't want to pick up too much color because these eyeshadows are super pigmented. You don't want to pick up a bunch of color and then smear all over your eye. It's no bueno. I'm just blending these out with this other side of the Anastasia brush. I'm going to take the newer brush I have, which is this one. Yep. And I'm going to go back in the Adorn shade again. I'm just tapping it with all these colors. Since they're so pigmented, I just tap my brush in them and I pick up a lot of color. I'm just going to place this matching where I put it on the top of my lid, on my top lid on my lower lash line. Alright, and this is it with the eyeshadow. I'm going to unbake, put on some highlighter and some lashes and mascara and some lipstick, and I'll see you back. So now that my look is complete, like, subscribe, share, comment, do your thing. Alright, so I'll see you all on my next video, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!